Hi.
Hello, welcome. Hope everybody is having a fantastic Monday. Glad you are here. Glad you joined us. Tech Talk with T and E and B and H and A. So we're getting the whole alphabet together today. I wanted to welcome Brian Kato, Adam Chronister, and Herc Magnus. Let's see what kind of crazy tech stuff is out there.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good deal. So this is, just leading up to it. We're doing an online event. Actually, starts a week from tomorrow, next Tuesday. And the whole purpose of this event, from our mind, was to actually be able to teach people stuff that they could actually use. And we've tried to do this at our live events, not very successfully because, well, multiple reasons. But so when we had the idea and were asked to do a digital online event, we thought, what a perfect opportunity to go out and ask some of the people that are really doing some, and I hate the phrase cutting edge because it changes every day, but really doing some pretty cool stuff with AI and automations and just kind of changing the game. And it's amazing. I'm still seeing and talking to a lot of people in the SEO world that haven't even kind of gone down this path yet, not even the basics. And, I'm be the first to tell you that you're going to get left behind. There's there's no doubt about it at all. So, welcome, gentlemen. I'll start. Oh, by the way, what is it? Like, follow,
Share and subscribe.
right.
Ring that bell down below.
Ring that bell. Yep, do all that fancy stuff down there. And bring your questions. If you guys got questions, bring them. So, anyways, since Herc's over there on my right, so we'll start with Canada. How's it going up there in the AI world? Is Canada any different than America?
Okay.
AI. Oh, can't hear you. There? Nope, not yet.
Do we have tech support here?
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, I'll move on. So while Herc gets all that figured out, we'll come back to her.
That's a great club you have there, Brian.
And I actually have a red, white, and blue one. So
I know that's yeah, we're talking about what we're going to do next year as far as colors, and we might actually have to change the size of the cup because we've run out of colors.
Yeah, I got
Colors
much
are
swag.
Anyways, Mr. Brian Kato, how are you, and what's going on in your world?
So we are building out all kinds of MCPs. We're having a lot of fun with that, and just kind of what I'll be talking about at spring training is going to be cutting through a lot of the tech kind of stuff as tech as I like to be about stuff. What I found is that a lot of it doesn't resonate with C-level executives. And so what we've been doing is kind of developing basically a one-click thing that hits all the target points that C-levels are interested in. And that we'll get to that here with the whole spring training kind of stuff. But we're doing a lot of MCP stuff. I see Dan's on here. Dan's a man of my own heart. We like automating a lot of stuff, and basically what we've been doing with MCPs is kind of like the terracotta army, where we can deploy wave after wave after wave of AI agents. That's kind of what we're doing. So I like scale.
For sure. Are you still real big in sheets, or are you kind of you found other stuff that are?
I'm still doing sheets. We play a lot. We've also done a lot of stuff with N8N, Airtable. We're still doing a lot of stuff like that. Sheets has its own place, and there are pros and cons to it. It's not without its limitations, but we're doing a lot of really fun stuff with that right now. And just by being able to deploy multiple AI agents, wave after wave of it, I've got AI agents controlling my Kali Linux machines. It's fantastic.
Right on. That's awesome.
Nice.
Really cool. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm like you are, and maybe even Adam and Herc, but I'm like old school coder, to where it would take you months.
Years.
Oh, for sure.
And now it's more or less, you can, if you think it, they can kind of, figure it out type of thing. But yeah, it's amazing, especially how fast it's changing. I mean, I was reading an article the other day on LinkedIn, and like literally hundreds of different AI things and automation things for whatever you can think of. And it's just like, dang, you know. But I'm waiting for one big website to rate them all before I go jump down rabbit holes. But
yeah, there's too many to rate. A couple months ago, we had a guy from Microsoft come visit our town and give a little prezzo, friend of a friend. But anyway, his entire job inside of Microsoft is just to assess new AI softwares and systems. And he's like, this is like literally my full-time job, and even I can't keep up with it, right? So,
wow.
you know, for all of us, you know, I think us in tech, and even those that are not in the space, like that feel overwhelmed, like just know that's normal, right? Like don't lose too much sleep, because it's moving so fast. You're never gonna catch it all, right? So
yeah, and Elisabeth and I have been focusing on, well, what will help us and our agency first, and then we can see if it's something that'll help others do.
Yeah,
it's really hard to
yeah, it's really hard to stay out of the shiny object syndrome. I feel like, you know, I'm one of those guys, people know me because I'm doing cool stuff in AI, but there's a lot of stuff I haven't even played with yet, right? I haven't done a lot of video. Just this weekend I was messing around with Suno and stuff like that, but like there's whole realms of AI that me as a AI expert, quote unquote, haven't even touched, just because I'm like, I don't have the time, and until I have like a really good use case or an afternoon to blow up, like it doesn't even make sense. But there's other areas where I've gone really deep, like so many others as well, though. So you got to figure out kind of what your vertical is and the tool and systems of choice, and then I think double down there, and the rest will figure itself out.
Oh, for sure, 100%. And I do believe that you just have to take a brain day and just step away from it all too. A lot of people I've talked to. I typically work on client stuff until about 3-ish in the afternoon, and then from 3 on is me just playing, doing shit, testing, and the weekends. And I actually took last Wednesday off just because I just get away. I'm just like, man, my head's going 50 million different friggin' directions.
Well, it's hard because you get super excited, and like I see you obviously because we live in the same house, but I mean, you are literally you go from your desk computer down to your laptop downstairs, and you're on it like the whole rest of the night until you're crashing out. So
yeah. I mean, it's just like I said, but it's just fun because if I can improve the efficiencies in our company, if I can, make our SOPs and stuff even better. Like my favorite thing is throwing my SOPs into ChatGPT saying, "What's missing?" Then you look back and go, "Oh, holy shit, you're right." Right? Look at all the crap that's missing, and it's stuff that we do. We just never put it into a text or video format. So.
Yeah, we just did that with a lot of our product sets. Like we were revising a lot of our product offerings, and we even used like ChatGPT, just like, hey, how does this compare to the rest of the market? Price point, product offering. Where before, like we'd literally have to call up competitors and be, hi, I'm Joe Schmo, I own a plumbing shop. We don't have to do any of that because it just does a good job of aggregating data. So, from little operational things like that, that's something that anybody can do. You don't have to be super technical. You could be an insurance salesman and, put your product offering in ChatGPT and say, how does this compare to the market?
What can I offer that other people aren't?
Yeah, little things like that, right?
So, which that's some of my favorite things about, because we all think we know everything until we ask a computer.
Right. Yeah.
And I still have to constantly remind people and myself even that this is still just a giant scraping machine.
Yep.
They're just modeling it a different way, and so I've had conversations with it, and no, bitch, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's probably the only scary thing is, now a lot of people are talking about like prompting in, like, I don't know what the word is, but basically make the AI, the large language models, a little less agreeable, right? Which because in that regard, sometimes they'll just tell you anything you want. It's like you're the yes man of the internet. So there is that, right?
Totally is.
Getting it to do the contrarian or be brutally, the prompt I like using with that is be brutally honest, right? I'm not looking for you to be my friend. What I'm looking for is brutal honesty. If I'm wrong, challenge my opinion, be contrarian. And I'm tending to see some pretty decent results. It's argued with me being like, you're being ridiculous. And, I think that's definitely something that people need to look at. So.
Oh, for sure. Welcome back, Herc. Are you mobile? Are you ready now? Or
Test.
There you go.
Yay.
Good deal. So, well, Adam, since we're on that same subject, what are you kind of thinking about? And again, I'm hoping by Wednesday I have a finalized topic schedule. It has actually changed. I just got to change on Thursday last week. So, how you looking, and what are you thinking about doing there for your teaching engagement?
Yeah, so kind of what I'm going to be discussing is a little bit of an expansion of what I've kind of been talking a lot heavily this year, right? So for those that know me or have been following me, they know that I've been focusing quite a bit on brand and PR, which is funny because 24 months ago, if you would have told me I would have been talking about that, I'd be kind of laugh at you. I'm kind of the guy that always, like, when you hear Gary Vee talk about brand, roll my eyes. But I've come full circle, and the most ironic thing is, in the way that I come to this is a little bit more of, I guess, the black hat, dark hat aspect, right? You can't take the black hat out of the marketer, and so I'll be kind of unpacking some of the things that we've done to kind of hack PR and branding, both for personal brand and for business. But the most interesting thing is that I found almost by happenstance that this plays right into the larger conversation around how to get placement and visibility and manipulate and kind of control what shows up in large language models, right? What we're finding is essentially these large language models are nothing more than consensus models, right? And so if you can shape the narrative of a consensus, like, you can control that narrative and what shows up, right? One of the big differentiators from my perspective between a traditional search engine like Google and these large language models is the separation between consensus and semantics versus traditional like page rank or ranking algorithms, right? At this juncture, it doesn't seem that most large language models, even Google's own AI overviews, have a huge bearing on traditional, ranking and sorting metrics, right? It's really just what's the consensus and how is that consensus consolidated, right? And so if you can, be it with a brand or a product or a service, control the narrative, and there are ways to do that kind of repurpose what us SEOs do with content syndication, PR, link insertion and content insertion in third-party websites. You can basically take that narrative, not only build a brand and a PR presence, but even leverage that into the realm of how you show up in these large language models. So that's kind of what I'm going to be unpacking in my conversation, and I will be sharing some things that I haven't yet shared, and so pretty excited about that.
Do you think it's just really boils down to just really good internet marketing, really good brand building, really good SEO as far as what we've all should have been doing in the first place, like tying in
at the end of the day? Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know we like our hacks and our tricks, and trust me, there are some of that. Like, I come at this PR thing with some like growth hacky / like pseudo black hat PR stuff. But I also caveat that, and I unpack this more in my talk, is that when you really understand it, like most PR it's pay to play, right? I don't care even to the upper levels of the entrepreneurs and Forbes of the world, right? And so instead of being an outsider looking in, it's like, how do we play at their same game, right? And so that's kind of the journey I've been on for some time. Is like, once I realized that PR is as phony as the black hat hacker that, or a black hat SEO guy that games the system, right? It's just as gamed as SEO or these other tactics. And so why not play the game, right? And so that's, at the end of the day, and again, at this juncture, these LLM systems, they're just looking at consensus, and what is better consensus than brand, right? So I totally agree with that.
Have you found a good AI ranking tool, if that's even a thing?
There are some that we're playing with. Like we've been using Dixon's tool, Wayk, I can never really pronounce it, but nothing that really is
like, nothing you could add to Looker Studio and say, hey, look, here we go.
We're doing some for reporting, but it's kind of like, it's almost like the cherry on top. Like, hey, we're paying attention to AI results, right? That is kind of where we're at right now, right? It really reminds me a lot of the early days of SEO, where there's a lot of cool things you can do, like a lot of manipulation you can do to get your brand, your name, your message in large language models. The biggest challenge we have right now is attribution, right? That problem I'm sure will resolve itself, whether it's Google, supposedly they're doing some kind of attribution into Google Search Console at some point. What that is and how beneficial we will see, or other third parties, right? So it is, I believe, a matter of time. But right now, attribution is, I think, the biggest challenge with all of this is, how do you present value other than like, hey, cool, look what we did, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like if you go back to the early 50s and 60s of marketing, there was no attribution. It's like, hey, I had a billboard or a radio spot, and you kind of got a sense of whether the phone was ringing. I think, like it or not, I think in some regards, as marketing becomes more fractured, there's going to be more of that, where we're going to have to be more comfortable with less attribution over time. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I think in the short term, that's going to be a challenge that our marketers are going to have to face.
I agree. Yep, all great points. That's for sure. So, we'll talk about after here in a little bit. But the more, are we all going to be missing the human aspect of everything soon? Is it going to revert back the other direction? Saying, this is getting a little weird, getting a little uncomfortable. I kind of miss, seeing Brian in Phoenix and having a beer.
Anytime, Terry. Anytime.
All right, Mr. Herc, how are you? Glad you're back.
So, I'm back.
You're back. Is it snowing up there yet?
No, but the leaves are turning already.
Gee whiz, man.
I have no concept of what that's like.
Oh, you should come up to Canada. Well, you know what? Come up to Canada now, and then come up to Canada again in January.
I'll do it. I am not afraid of the snow. I went to Wisconsin in February, so.
Oh, okay. So you know what an 80-degree swing in temperature feels like.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going on in your world? I know the cool thing is, Agent X came out since you spoke at the live SEO spring training. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with Xagio and what you want to teach everybody.
Well, I'll kind of mention what was really cool is that site that I built during the presentation at spring training is ranking on the first page for Phoenix Plumber. So like it picked up the main keyword, the main massive search volume keyword. And I missed, Brian, what you were talking about, and I caught a little bit about the rest of it, like attribution. And I love sitting in rooms like this because I already have ideas to improve my software. Like attribution's huge. And then AI. I'm not the smartest guy in this room, okay? I never will be, I don't think. But one benefit of me being me is that I kind of stayed in my lane with kind of local marketing and really focusing on the basics and the fundamentals of things. And what I've realized throughout my career is how powerful those absolutely are. Whereas you have other people diving into like, you know, kind of what I would call the secondary aspects of SEO, which is offsite, you know, links and PR and social and CTR manipulation, everything, right? All that stuff that you do after the site is built. I've never really gone there, even as far as paid advertising. I've always stayed in my lane. You know, get better at keyword research and get better at optimization, and the things that you can do to your website. And the interesting thing that I found just through dumb luck, right, is with the AI overviews, all my sites are coming up in the AI overviews. Now I'm talking about sites that we've built with Agent X that are EMDs. They're brand new. Okay. They're well, and when I say brand new, okay, so how long ago was spring training? Like 60 some days?
Something like that. Yeah.
Remember.
Beginning of May.
Well, it wasn't long ago. It was less than 90 days ago. Okay. So
Less
we're
than
talking,
90 days.
yeah, and we released this feature, you know, in that same time frame. And then one day I'm just like, oh yeah, like AI overviews, you know, we should be checking that, because we're always looking into things like, should we be adding, and speaking of attribution, should we be adding, you know, rank tracking as a measurement for AI overviews? And then of course we're thinking about a stats plugin, and that's where the attribution really comes in, is having stats. But what I've noticed is one day I was just like, how are we doing in AI, and should we start looking at, you know, what we can do as a company to help show up in AI overviews? So I started looking. Lo and behold, here's all my stuff. Okay. And now it's odd, right? Because I know there's systems out there, and I know there's knowledge out there, and education out there to help people rank in AI overviews. And I typically just stumble onto this shit just by doing what I do. But it makes a lot of sense to me because, I mean, we're doing things right. We're doing the fundamental right. We're creating good, you know, topical authorities sites, even though they're small local business sites, but they have crazy good rankings. They have crazy good topical authority. Even without social GVP, like no supporting second layer, and still getting into the AI overviews. And I'm talking like, I just found out, and this is how ridiculous I am. I just found out about LLM's text like last week. And someone brought it up to me, and I was like, oh shit, we should probably put that in our plugin, in our software. But we didn't have that, and I don't have that, but I was still ranking the AI overviews. So like what I'm going to be talking about on my event, I'm calling it like bright lights, big cities, how to rank fast in major metropolitan areas, on search and in AI overviews. But it's going to focus again on fundamental stuff, right? Because if you don't, I think it's just, you know, if you don't have your foundation set right, like everything else you're going to do is built on a weak foundation. You're going to struggle. You're going to crumble. You know, whatever you do have, you're not going to get the results. However, if you reverse that, you've done your research properly, you built your pages and your website properly, you get that foundation done, you know, extremely well. Everything else you do, number one, becomes a massive amplifier of effectiveness, but you have to do so much less of it, which saves you time, saves you budget as well, right? So like everything I think that the other guys are going to teach, like I know Brian and Adam, you guys are teaching like kind of those layer 2 stuffs or the hacks and stuff like that. I think those things are still great. I think they're awesome. And I think they will serve to just amplify what is a good foundation to begin with. And I have more than enough evidence to say, like, look, a good foundation is enough to get you into AI overviews, even without a lot of the, you know, traditional stuff that I think people are doing to feed LLMs. Just having the LLMs being present with a good foundational site is enough. I'm already doing it.
Yeah. And there's I've been teaching this a long time. I've just turned down a schema project 2 days ago because their website's shit. Their website fundamentally isn't ready for it. And, you know, and people think you can skip the fundamentals and go over here to this new shiny object syndrome, like Adam mentioned, you know, but, you know, it's like going out and getting a good backlink. If you get a good backlink, all that's going to do is shine a spotlight on your shitty website.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to
You'll probably get more result out of the backlink than the property you're trying to get the result from in that regard a lot of times.
And
we end up selling a lot of websites for that very reason, right? And you know, I don't talk about it as much, but technical SEO is a huge part of what we do, right? It's, you know, and for those of us that are in the SEO space and build websites from a technical perspective, I think it's a huge advantage. Throughout the, the decade and a half that I've been doing this, like the amount of businesses that I've seen come to me crying because they spent 30, 40 plus grand on a website, and either they're not getting any traffic or rankings, or even worse, their legacy traffic just plummets, right? I could, gosh, yeah, man, if I got paid $1 for every time I seen those, like, it's crazy.
Okay,
it happens all the time. So.
That's why I did a little video saying, fix your 404s, people. This website we just took on in almost 8 days, he had 17,000 followers.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's just like,
I bring up the idea of a 301 redirection map, and most, I'm like, hey, did your web development team, did they create a 301 redirection map? No, what's that? Have they looked at the change in semantics or URL structure that changes with the change in your CMS? No. I mean, we're bidding on a project right now, and because I have that technical knowledge, I can basically say, hey, I noticed your website's traffic just got cut in half. Here's why you need to hire us for your web design and your marketing, because the other people that relaunched this site, they killed it, right? So
yeah, it's a big deal, and it definitely hurts businesses. There's no doubt about it, and it always takes 10 times as long to bring a bad site back as it does to do it right the first time. So what's the big deal about Agent X, Herc? What is that? What's the Agent X part of Xagio all about?
It's the full AI system that will. So there's AI website builders, right? There's tons of them. But what good is having a great website if nobody finds it, right? So what we built is the website builder portion of it. Like, obviously that wasn't even that hard, but the way it builds websites is based on the keyword research first of the competition. So it doesn't just build pages and then apply optimizations out of thin air. It's all very, very meticulously and chronologically done. So, like, for instance, that Phoenix plumbing one, I'll go back to that. The first thing we do is say, like, we want to open a plumbing website in Phoenix. Well, we'll go look at the top ranking sites in Phoenix in the plumbing industry and find out what are all the keywords that these guys are ranking for. Then the software does all this automatically. Then it'll cluster everything to get the topical authority map of the website. From there, you choose which basically clusters represent a page on your website. Which ones do you want to keep? Which ones do you not want to keep? Once you're done, you press go. It fetches all the keyword data, the competition data, and then the AI analyzes everything, right? It'll take all those keywords, analyze the competition, analyze the volume, say, look, your best bang for your buck in this cluster is this keyword, so we're going to optimize this way. It does it page to page to page to page. Then it writes the content, then it writes the schema. It has the design included. So we're taking, and then it's done. And the whole process honestly takes, from start to finish is literally less than an hour, but the AI build is about 15 minutes. And the outcome is a beautiful site that's properly done, properly keyword researched, and a beautiful design, which I think is a lot better than a lot of the other AI website builders there, because they're not focused on the full picture. I come from an SEO background. I know how important, having a website is, and a beautiful website. But we took an SEO first approach to the AI website builder. And there's other tools out there that say they're SEO tools. But everybody's definition of SEO and what good SEO entails is obviously different, right? So, I mean, there's Wix over there that's saying, look, we do SEO to your website, but what is Wix SEO, right? And do you have enough knowledge to compare the Wix style of SEO to the Agent X style of SEO, right? So it's hard for people because they'll hear a word and be like, yeah, but there's so much more to the picture, right? And I won't talk about everybody else and what they do. I'll just say, look, what we do is we don't build websites kind of front end to back end. We build back end to front end, and we use a data first approach using AI. And that's essentially what Agent X is.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, how hard is your system to plug into a already current website with, say, 100 pages? Does it do a very good job at that? Obviously, it's better to build from scratch, but
No, it's I mean, every situation is different. Like, let's say you have a 100-page website. Well, maybe you have a 100-page website where all 100 pages are doing great, right? That's a different situation than someone who has a 100-page website and 75% of them are shit, or there's cannibalization issues or topical issues, like content creation issues. So every situation is different, first of all, right? For every website. But the way that I would look at any website is to understand what I need to do to improve. I need to understand where it's at right now, right? And for me, the way I do that is simple. It's just a keyword audit of all the pages on their site. I see what keywords they're ranking for, in what position. That starts giving me an idea of what's ranking well, what's not, if there's any cannibalization in place, competing topical clusters and stuff like that. Once I do that, then I can say, okay, and this is where basically I would start with a new website. I'd say, okay, here's your list of keywords. Let's build a recluster, right, of your existing keywords. And then that'll identify these pages are good, these pages are shit, and these pages are missing. And then from there, just do the work, right? And so I literally base all my decisions on data. If I run a site audit and I see that it's ranking for nothing, no problem.
yeah.
What do you want to rank for? Because those top ranking 10 sites are going to contain the data that you're lacking. And from that data from your competitors, I can do the same thing. So it's almost the same process, just a different starting point, I'd say.
Yeah, which is cool. And a lot of people, if you bought my course, you've heard me say this. Herc's Project Supremacy 2 is actually how I started doing my schema 7 years ago. So, and I remember Project Supremacy 1, but because you had the freaking tool that would scrape people's schema, and I found this freaking hospital in Dallas, and I was like, oh, what is this? And then your tool said, oh, schema.org, and that's my 7-year rabbit hole I went down.
Yeah, schema.org is big.
So, but yeah, I'm an old Project Supremacy. I still use keyword supremacy, and I still teach how to use keyword supremacy. So, we take a pretty interesting approach to keyword research too. Yeah, well, and I like the similar, and I like, there's not just exact. You got to find out what's similar, what's, what else is out there. And we use ChatGPT a lot for this now, but what are the semantic and entities relevancy around? Yeah, for me personally, and when it comes to keyword research, I'd rather deal with a list of 1,000 very filtered keywords than just a big ass data dump. Some people like volume, and I don't. I'm like, that's too much work for me. I'd rather work with the 1,000 that I know are going to get me something. Because anyone that gets to, you go to Ahrefs and you get a big keyword dump, that's a lot of work, right? From that point on, that's where Ahrefs is like, here you go, see ya, sort of thing, right? Like. That's not at all the way that I like to do. I like to filter things out first, get the smaller amount of data and sort through that. It's just easier for me. Yeah, that's awesome. Elisabeth, what's going on over there? Are you awake?
I'm totally awake. You guys are just sharing all your brilliance, and I'm soaking it up, right?
Exactly. So,
okay, I have a question. Okay, so if everybody's kind of like doing their own coding and stuff, what is your favorite tool right now, each of you? Because it's probably different.
For coding, or
like, I know like vibe coding is like the big thing right now, and that's blowing up the internet. And like, I'm playing with it too for a lot of internal things because I want to, fix things locally. I'm not looking at, revolutionizing the industry or changing the internet. I want things on my side fixed. What are your guys' favorite tool and why?
I kind of go back between Lovable and Replit. I really like Lovable for more visual aesthetic things. I've used Replit a lot for like plugins, if I recall, like some Chrome plugins and stuff. But I use Lovable a lot these days. I'll even almost replace Figma, at least the initial phase. Like I've shortcut a lot of design, and I'm not really a designer, but it's like, hey, the client describes what they want. I put it into Lovable. I'm like, how's this look, right? At least before we code it out, right? And I've even on the prompting of a friend used it to actually put some of our own like product offerings inside of it instead of keeping those inside the Google document and making it like a flowchart. So I would say like right now, Lovable is one I'm using a lot, but Replic's also very powerful. So
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't played with Lovable. Definitely have played with Replit a lot. Love it. I just like, again, my old coding brain is now I can talk to something and it'll do the shit I'm thinking about. And enhance it, obviously. So, pretty
All
cool.
right.
Especially for internal stuff.
Brian, what's your favorite tool?
Favorite tool right now would probably either be it would be Claude Code deployed locally on my machine through the Linux subsystem, or Firebase Studio deployed locally again through the Linux subsystem and command line. Like I can do a lot of really cool shit with that.
Nice.
It's super nerdy though. It's not pretty.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have learned in my time that pretty doesn't always convert. So I'm not all bought into the pretty, even though like I like it, but
Terminal's just fast. That's what I like with it. So
right on. Herc, what's your favorite tool of choice, your software that you love?
Lovable for AI coding for sure. I guess I started there way back when I started playing with them. Just recently, I decided to build a new app for one of the merchant account that I use for selling my SaaS product is called ThriveCart, and I hate their reporting. So they do have an API. So I was like, okay, let's start with the same prompt on. I think I did it on Lovable, Bolt. I tried Firebase, same prompt, and then went to a certain depth of developing this, and I went back to Lovable again to just I don't know if it was because I was already comfortable there or what, but Bolt was pretty cool. Bolt gave a really nice like we talk about pretty, right? Like I don't care about pretty as much as I care about functionality in the back end, and then I care about pretty. Bolt was pretty cool on the front end, being pretty. Lovable's was really, really great on the back end. It's had a huge. I don't know what they did. I don't know if it's ChatGPT-5 or what, but their new model that they introduced for coding and fixing their own mistakes is. I swear at it a lot less, in the last month than I did prior months before. But I have no coding experience really. I can look at HTML and I understand what's saying, but when it comes to like PHP or Java or anything like that, I have zero coding experience. But what I do have experience in is talking to my dev team every day about database architecture, authentication, stuff like that. And I will advise anyone that's going to do the vibe coding that, if you don't understand that stuff, you can have a project fall apart really, really quickly on those tools. Mm-hmm. And almost to the point of being unrecoverable, just because it can get lost in thought. And but I really do enjoy Lovable. I'm on my 4th product with Lovable, and if you guys use ThriveCart, let me know. I'll hook you up with the one that I built, because my reporting on ThriveCart now is like insanely good with filtering and stuff like that.
Cool.
Right on. I actually got rid of all of Thrive. I got so frustrated.
Yeah, I do think they're good, but they're just their back end. Like their reporting wasn't doing it for me and stuff like that. But I've been on them with a long time, and I'm okay with it. I should move to Stripe and API, but there's also another lady that I think was maybe at your event that has another merchant solution that I might look at as well.
Yeah, there's definitely different solutions out there for sure, and it's and it just whatever works for your system for sure. But
it's just a drag to build a whole SaaS company based on a merchant provider, and then all of a sudden decide to switch, right? And that's a big get it right first, avoid issues later.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah, I mean we're having a lot of fun. I haven't played with Lovable. I probably should.
It's honestly addicting.
Yeah. Well, so the Replit side is too. We've got I've got a whole whiteboard full of stuff we're going to build. And a lot of the stuff is stuff that I started building with a developer a couple of years ago. And after $15,000-$20,000 and only being about 50-60% complete, kind of dumped it. And now you can kind of rejuvenate it back into these type of systems where that's where it gets kind of fun, but you do have to keep it on you have to keep it in your lane. It'll definitely make recommendations to go outside. Next thing you know, instead of building one little small system, now you've got this thing that's just so convoluted that, like you said, Herc, it just starts to internally explode.
Yeah.
And so, but
there's a learning process to it, and I don't just mean learning the interface. I mean learning how to be specific, learning how to tell it what to do versus what not to do. Knowing how to recover or when to recover. And those are kind of more, they're not system like details and learning. It's more about your brain learning how to operate with an AI brain. But it's fun, and for the cost, to be honest, it's unbelievable. Like, I've got one of my developers now where all he does is go in after I'm done something and make sure the code is efficient, make sure the code's good, or removing excess code and stuff like that, because it's just so much faster than any developer can be. Right? I mean, it's whipping out full sites in minutes, and there's not a developer in the world that can work as fast as an AI.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me because I've always struggled with the UX side, with the user interface side, and when I went down this rabbit hole a little while ago, and that was my first thing, is I just wanted to build a scraping tool, and it came up with the UI or the UX, and I was like, damn, okay, I don't even need to go down that. Check that off.
Yeah, it's really great.
It's even better. Like you can literally, what we do is we'll just take a screenshot of a user interface. Like we did the same thing. So I built a Google Chrome plugin, and I literally just copied and did a screenshot of the user interface of the extension I wanted to build, and I said, I uploaded that to Lovable. I described what it did and said, now I wanted to also do A, B, and C. So platforms like that are really good at, basically ripping off user interfaces.
It's amazing that it can, like, it still blows my mind. Like, I do that too now, like provide it images of itself, of what it's developing for me, and I'll put red arrows on it and point to something and say, go fix this.
Debug it that way.
You can debug itself. Like, its ability to look at an image file and understand what you're asking it to do is mind blowing. Like,
for sure, 100%. And one of the things that that I did, this is even going back to the old days when I was using Visual Basic 6 and everything, is constantly repeating to what's missing. What are how is the security of all this? Just constantly having to go back down this and go through all the mistakes. And after asking it enough times to go through all the mistakes, it built an actual semi-internal audit system that we can trigger just by, as we're going through building modules, we can trigger that audit system and it'll automatically go back and start looking for all its errors, and I was just like, okay, that's pretty fun.
So, dovetailing on that, I have a question for everyone. How many of you guys are actually using log files or checklists within your prompting for the AI to go back through?
I usually
but I saw was it Diggity was talking about that. It's on my list. Yeah.
I can tell you that's changed the way that we do it. So one of the things, and I'll talk about this during my presentation in spring training, but one of the things that we do is we include flag files so that the AI can go through, and when it hits particular, think of them as like toll gates or checkpoints, right? You can save yourself a lot of tokens, and it actually acts as like okay, we got to this point, we got it. Let's go back. Let's double check this. This is what's next on the agenda. I found that really that can really change the way that you vibe code, because you're actually giving it a roadmap. These are what you need to check. This is what you can continue to check, and it's a way to chunk vibe coding out beyond the traditional context window. So highly something that, like, I would recommend. Like, if you're not already using it, even have like I know we hear guys like Charles Taylor and all that, he and Carolyn Holtzman, who are huge into like check your log files, look at this, right, make sure that you understand what is going on with your website. To be honest, the same thing could be said for when you're vibe coding. If you have any of those log files, and also, I guess, just to kind of dovetail on the idea of throwing in a picture, AI understands other code languages very well also. So if you have things like, JavaScript, if you have PHP code that you want to throw in there for any of that kind of stuff, it understands that incredibly well.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention about Lovable is, at least what I do, I hook it up to a backend database system called Supabase. It's just integrated right in there. And log files are huge because Supabase is logging everything, at least through database communications or edge functions, stuff like that. So those are super useful. But the other thing, and to your point more so, Brian, is that on my fourth platform that I built on Lovable, I didn't start on Lovable. I started on GPT and actually Claude, because Claude is really, really great too. And said, this is my initial idea. I'm going to build this on Lovable. I need you to build out the full system architecture that I can feed to Lovable. And then I use that as a checkpoint inside of Lovable. Sometimes, like, I'll take that file, save it in a folder on my computer as my main, and then I'll go down the list, and we're building this, then this, then this, and say when we're here, and it starts kind of veering and being like, oh, we should build this or do that, because AI just freaking does what it wants sometimes. I'll feed it back that file. Here's what we initially planned to do. Here's where I believe we are. Stay on track. Oh yeah, okay.
You're setting those anchor points for it, so it kind of reels it back into its knowledge base, where it's like, no, you're getting a little crazy over there.
Yeah, it's trained to want to help, right? Like it's trained to want to help. So if it thinks that you're not thinking of something to do, it will recommend it do it, or sometimes just do it for you. Sometimes it won't even tell you. Like fallbacks, for instance, when I'm debugging and it's got a bunch of fallback stuff, I'm like, stop doing fallbacks. I can't debug with fallbacks, right? Or front end JSON responses. Like, I'm like, I need to see the JSON responses from the APIs on the front end so I can debug, right? Like stuff like that. You got to keep it in line, because it's fucking powerful, man. It's crazy. Like, you play with it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to go wide and shallow. You want to go narrow and deep. That's the whole purpose, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I mean, that's the direction I want.
It depends how big your platform is, but I agree with that point, that if you do have a big platform, focus on one thing at a time to completion.
Yeah. That's what I did. Now I'm going to show it at the digital event. But yeah, I built a whole freaking lead generation system.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool. And there's so many options. Like you said, you're running Claude Code, and I keep hearing about it. And like people are loving Claude Code. And I know from my experience that Claude is sick. It's really good.
Yeah, and there's so many. Like I said, now we all have a tool. And if you're an agency or even a freelancer, look at what these type of systems can do before you go out and hire somebody. These systems are made to do stuff that is, tenuous and repeatable and all this other stuff. And, and don't just all of a sudden go out and just talk to this guy a couple weeks ago and he's looking to hire 2 people. And I'm like, for what? And I'm like, just from what you told me, you can automate all that, And so, go down those paths to see what you can build for your own internal systems. And, I'm not telling you to go out and replace 10 people on your staff, but if you can build stuff that makes you more efficient with less mistakes, something that's easily reportable. I mean, there's all these cool things. I'm a Looker Studio junkie like Adam is, but I'm building reports now that make Looker Studio look like shit.
Well, and rather than replacing people on your staff, I think people kind of have this misnomer or misconception on that. Why not 10x what your staff can do?
That's what we're doing
now. Instead of letting people go or scaling back that way, you can potentially explode 10 to 100x what you currently were doing.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
We
Right.
did that. So we have a guy who started out as kind of a SEO technical content like director, and brought on a couple 1099s, and he's also very good at systems and processes, and he's a sponge, right? And so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna bring on some 1099s, basically do your job. You got like 2-3 months to really create a system that automates all of our content, right? And so we ended up leveraging a platform called, I think, Typing Mind, which allows us to pull in multiple APIs. We split test one of the articles generated from that system, which with that system we were able to introduce like customer personas, which we weren't always doing, with the more semi-manual process. Put 2 pieces of content, one written by a traditional writer out of the UK, a guy who's written for like Microsoft, etc., and one of these AI articles. Just told the client, hey, we're going to test out 2 new writers. What do you think? And she's like, these are both great, but I kind of like this one a little bit better, and here's why. And of course, that's the AI system, right? And so, basically, we were able to like let go of the 1099s, have him operate. I think we're up to like 63 pieces of content a month, and we're not a big company, but we put a lot out there. And now that same guy is taking a liking like Facebook advertising and some other things, right? And there's no way that he could do that had we not built the systems. In fact, I might be offsetting that whole system to a more junior, content specialist, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you shouldn't think of AI as just how do I replace people. It's like, how do I make them 10x better so that they can spend more time with customers, be more creative, explore other opportunities in their career or for their passion that feeds back into the business. Like that's where we've seen the most leverage from.
I think too, in a vibe coding aspect from a vibe coding aspect, not even vibe coding in itself. Like I could go try and replace my developers, or I could have my developers really come onto these systems. And it's actually happening in my company, because when I started with, my vibe coding and building like a crypto reporting software on blockchain stuff, I was like, guys, I've got 4 devs on my team. They've been with us forever. Have you heard of this Lovable? Oh yeah. It's kind of like a little bit of whatever, right?
Yeah.
But as like I'm starting to show them the projects, like, oh, this is getting more interesting. This is getting cooler. Or I need you to come in and take a look at this. It's like, well, this is really, there's something here. And then I think it was about a month ago, one of my devs is getting married, and he wanted to create a QR code that would upload photos. People could scan it and then upload photos, and it would centralize and sort everything onto a web app. And he's like, oh, I just was out of time, so I decided to go on Lovable and build it. Now he's a coder.
Yep.
He said he built this in 4 hours. He said that's something that would have taken me weeks. Like it wasn't a very complex thing, but it still would have taken weeks, because coders are, especially I think like guys like Brank, one of the lead coders on my team, they have their starting templates, but they still kind of build everything from scratch. Well, with Lovable, he was able to whip the whole thing out in 4 hours. Now he's on board, and he's like, holy shit, like there's so much stuff for them that makes their job easier. Like the repetitive shit that's in everybody's job, coders have it too. That stuff's eliminated for them now. We can build and launch new features over there, and then the devs, having the experience that they have, now have a guy that's 24/7 with insane speed to do all the kind of shit work for them. They come in and finish things off, make sure everything's good. They can 10x so easily. But like, I agree 100% that don't think of replacing. Think of getting people on board with what this is, because they're the one. Like I can code shit on Lovable, but I have no idea if it's good or bad. But if I was a coder like them, like they're the ones that understand what it's doing. They're the best ones to operate it. You know what I mean? They're the most qualified to operate it.
Well, I think that there's this reciprocity with it too. Like you're making them 10x more efficient, but at the same time, an experienced coder and having done coding, like there's a level of it where it's like, yeah, anyone could vibe code it. And we talked about this at spring training back in April or May, right? Where it's like, yeah, anyone can vibe code stuff. Things are super easy to do that now, but it's also really easy to fuck stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
And if you don't know what code works, if you don't know what code doesn't work, debugging, security, infrastructure, any of those things, sure, you can vibe code it, but if you don't have the guy that's actually experienced in that language,
Mhm.
if they don't have the expertise in that, you could run in circles vibe coding. I mean, we've seen that even from a graphic design standpoint, where how many of us, right, have gone into a photo and be like, nope, chat GPT, you fucked that one up.
Yeah.
Redo the image. Nope. 6 fingers, 10
Yeah.
toe, you've got 11 toes. This is weird. The glass is floating in the middle of nowhere, right? And then you iterate and iterate and iterate. Whereas that same thing, if you had someone that was experienced in, say, Photoshop or Illustrator,
Yeah.
you could take that core concept and be like, awesome, you got me 80% of the way there, right? Let's Pareto this out. You've got me 80% of the way there.
Mhm.
I'm going to take that last 20%, just kind of
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
It took me 2 minutes in Photoshop. We're done. Right.
Yeah. And they understand the language of not just like the whole arena of their space. Like designers, they know Photoshop, they know the language, they know the names of the functions, the features, but so does AI. But they can communicate that to AI much faster than someone else who's like, can you just please make it like fade on the edges sort of thing, and like develop
Gaussian blur. There you go.
Yeah, like whatever it's called, I don't even know. But for me, like learning about things like I didn't know what an RLS policy was in my life. And so I struggle with like, what the hell's going on here? Like blah, blah, blah. And one of my dads comes in and says, oh, your RLS policies are all screwed up. In 1 second, he's fixing a problem that I'm spending a week on and making my app worse because I'm guessing at what to tell it. It's not understanding me. It's doing its best to help. But if I had just had that experience, or I had someone on my team that had that experience that could communicate that to me, I communicate that to the AI. It knows exactly what the problem is, fixes it. So it's important to have somebody it's important to play. Okay. That's the number one thing, but it's still important to understand that there is a need for experience, knowledge, you know what I mean? To go
right
into
person, right seat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So last question, I think. So where do you guys host these type of websites?
Depends on the site. I'm still big cloud hosting because I like the scalability of cloud. Replic's fantastic. I'd absolutely love that. But yeah, it depends on the specific type of site. I mean, we're using GitHub for some of our stuff, right? Cloud. So.
Are you talking about the AI developed projects, Terry?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. The vibe coding projects or whatever you're kind of playing with is, because I asked when I was building this thing, I was like, no, this is going to become a live project. As we're building this, I want you to keep in mind where we need to host this for security and speed and all the good junk.
Exemplify is another good one.
Yeah. And it came up with, DigitalOcean droplets was recommended.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we're mostly using this for a lot of like internal stuff, or like I have a guy right now who's already built out a questionnaire, and he wanted me to recreate it, and I'm like, well, instead of recreate it, let's just point a subdomain in your DNS to what you already have, and so you as the non-technical customer can iterate. And so we're basically just segmenting parts of the DNS over to something like Lovable in that use case, right? So
right on. That's cool.
We do something similar that I think could be helpful to people too, where we actually have a dev GitHub for Lovable, and all the code commits are going to there. But live production, we just copy the Git over to the live production side. So there's this kind of like cycle. There's a safe development environment over here that won't affect the live app. When things are tested and right over here, then we can update and push to the other Git. And that keeps the live environment really, really safe. And it's just as simple as cloning when you're ready, right?
Yeah. Cool. Because it's, that stuff people got to think about. It's like, when, especially you're building something that security is a big part of it, And so we've been, Elisabeth and I started in this game doing HIPAA certified pharmacies. These small towns in America didn't have a Walgreens and CVS. So how we got kind of started back in this business again. And you know, if you're doing stuff in medical and you need to pay attention to HIPAA and stuff like that, and you know, you're building out something that you're going to either offer your clients or whatever, just make sure you cover your ass. You know, ask the tool, what am I missing? It's going to be this, and this, and it's done. You know, what am I
because
missing?
sometimes it's hard to like, you know, I don't even know what, like, you don't even know what you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's great to do that, to ask, what am I not thinking of? Like security's a big one. And Brian, you were saying like vibe coding, you know, things can do, like if you're secure, if you're collecting user data and you're not secure and then that breaches, that's a big issue.
It is big time. So one of the first things I built for my tool is a whole security dashboard, so I can see, you know, all the shit that's trying to penetrate it, all the stuff that's coming in. I can blacklist IP addresses, kind of taking the functionality away from, you know, I hate Cloudflare. I'm getting more and more to hate any of those freaking CDNs out there. And so it's just, how can I do it internally and keep a secure product that I don't have to worry about getting hacked? You know, type of thing. So, but everything's hackable.
But play.
Yeah.
If it even scares anyone, it's like, don't just.
Yeah, if you can think of it, play. You know, I mean, it's funny too. Because I was talking to my oldest son last night, who works for a corporate company, large corporate company, and he's like, "Yeah, but how would I do this?" And I was like, "Well, you're a supervisor in your industry, in your business. What can you do? How can you make it more efficient to where it'd be easier and more fun and doing all this stuff?" I said, do you do repeatable things? He's like, "Oh yeah, all the time." And I was like, well, I would at least go in there and ask it a question. Yeah. You know, and then design something that if you don't want to take off and do on your own, but it'll help all your coworkers, take it to the friggin' boss and say, "Hey, I built this. You know, can we use it? Number one, and number two, will you pay me for other people to be able to use it?" You know, so there's all those opportunities out there.
Absolutely. So we've got the buy link down below.
Yep.
Let's
exactly. Yep. Get your ticket. This ticket's, you know, I can't reiterate enough how different this event's going to be than other events that people are used to. You know, we're going to have happy hours in the evening. It's going to be fun. It's not just going to be, see you from, 8 to 5 and leave you, but it's going to be fun. There's going to be some powerful stuff. I've got people that, when we started putting this together and thinking about topics and stuff, and, it's crazy what some of these people are bringing.
Maybe even some free stuff for people who attend. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I never know.
I'll probably do something.
So, yeah, you never know. And that's always the surprise, right? Is, whether you do the tech day, the VIP day, or the 3-day actual digital event. But
you want to show up.
Yeah, you definitely want to show up. You definitely, if you're an agency owner, encourage your employees to go through it. I was talking to another guy the other day that has like 4 employees. Like, oh, I don't want to get them into this. They're going to find something and freaking leave. And and I'm like, well, I hate to say this, but you probably should be encouraging your people to do that, to get better, to get to the point of,
maybe not leave, but they could be a better employee for your organization, and that's the whole goal for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Just ask ChatGPT how to golden handcuff your best employees who want to be entrepreneurs. He'll tell you.
I need a step-by-step playbook. Thanks, Chat. Thanks.
And I do know
like he's going to be a superstar. I don't want him going anywhere. How do I keep him?
I don't know what's going on with StreamYard today, but it looks like we lost all of our Facebook connections. So I apologize for that. I'll put the YouTube replay up there, and then everybody can, kind of watch all that stuff. So let's see, what did Robbie? Netlify or Railway for me for vibe coding.
Netlify is awesome. I love deploying on that.
Right on. Yeah, I need to check those out too. So I'm going to keep everything up where I'm at, just while I work out all the bugs, and then we'll see what happens after that. It's all about cost, right? What do you mean it's $10,000 a month?
One of the cool ideas is I'm like seeing this stuff that you could easily do is if you deploy your project to GitHub, which is a standard feature on, I think, every vibe coding app, you can always go to another vibe coding app and pull in the GitHub and carry on from there.
Yep.
Like, you don't have to be stuck to one. And I think a lot of people are worried about that. It's not like that. Deploy it on GitHub, get on the other one.
I think GitHub is going to be one of those skills that as we get more and more involved with, because I mean, GitHub, let's be honest, that's a standard coding practice for most like pro developers. You're going to have your staging, you're going to have your deployment, and you're going to have your development, staging, and production, typically 3 different instances, right? And I think that a lot of people have kind of gotten away from that, especially, you know, with, hey, we're just going to put it on WordPress. I'm going to, you know, log in and there, we're good. I've updated my website. I think a lot of it is going to go back to that. And that is one skill that I would highly recommend people look at, is get familiar at least with how GitHub works, how you can do your commits, how you can do your comments, your polls, all that. And I think that that's going to be something really important as we kind of continue down this road of AI, that it's going to be just an invaluable skill for someone to have.
I agree. Yeah. And I know very little about it. I think it's been over probably 2 years since I've been in it. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if they have like are they an open source platform, GitHub? You know?
I'm not sure if they specifically are, but like everything on there, like a lot of it is open source.
I think you're looking at everyone's
code. Yeah. I know, that's a note to self: buy shares if
buy shares in GitHub if they're not an open source platform,
right?
Because like it's I think Lovable is at, they just crossed 100 million annual recurring. Was that, I don't know if anyone saw that announcement, but it was the fastest move from a 1 million ARR to a 100 million ARR in history of any company. They did it faster than OpenAI did, which is insane, right? And there's a chart out there. So now, of course, I saw that as a men culture thing, so I don't know if it's, you know, fact verify things, but they're big. And what I see coming is what, like Brian's talking about, like, you know, get comfortable with GitHub, get comfortable with like proper setups of like development environments, live environments. The other thing I see coming, and I've made this comment way back in the day, and now I'm seeing it starting to sprout up. Our old lead gen systems of like ebooks and like digital copies, micro SaaS are the new lead gen systems that are coming, because it's people are going to get better shit for free because it's easier to create better shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like people need to start thinking about that sort of stuff. You're gonna, if you're, and way back to the beginning of this whole conversation, if you're not in AI, good luck.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you got to get in there, just like Herc keeps saying, start playing, but really take a look at what you can do to not just improve your own agency or your own life in general, but what you can also turn around and do for your clients, because your clients are freaking out. You know, if you have a conversation with them right now, they're not sure which way to go, you know, and they're asking you questions like, you know, hey, how do I get in the AI overview? You know, and you go read something from Search Engine Land or something, you know, start testing it, start looking where they're pulling the information from. It's not making any sense, and it changes all the freaking time, but start paying attention to it. You know, I used to think it was the top 3 rankings in the organics, and not even close. It's like, how'd you pull this one over here in number 9? You know, so
it's actually a lot simpler than people want to imagine it is, but people have to, you know, if you want to learn about that,
exactly.
click the link.
I'm showing exactly how we do it, right? But yeah, to your point, it's
super,
you know, LLMs are basically parrots, right? And so they're it sounds counterintuitive, but they're really not that intelligent. Like, it's
spider parrots.
Yeah. And so
they're
sign up,
dumb robots.
Sign up and learn how to get those placements. So
heck yeah. So, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time on a Monday. We look forward to seeing you here next week. If you guys have any questions about anything about the conference, about anything that you heard here today, reach out to me. I'm pretty much available. But I do appreciate everybody listening. It's super exciting to go down a lot of these paths. And, you know, it's kind of weird too. For a long time, I used to tell myself I don't have time to do this, but you make time to do this.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that important. because if you don't, we have a good friend of ours, and he still refuses to do any kind of content, AI content generation. He's still paying $30-$40 an article.
Ouch.
And he's going to get it. He's going to get consumed. So, anyways, thank you, gentlemen, so much. I hope everything's well in your worlds, and have a great week, everybody. And look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.